for joining us. We're moving the dial on student success. The community college focus on student success. We have three wonderful panelists that are joining us today, and we will meet them in a little bit. But next, let's give a little disclaimer that we normally do with our webinars. So on the screen, you will see our disclaimer that this presentation you're viewing has been prepared by and is the property of the Middle States Commission on Higher Education. Reproduction, distribution, or transmission of the presentation in part or whole is expressly prohibited without prior written consent. And of course, you can always request consent by emailing president@msche.org. And of course, always seek advice of the institution's assigned vice president liaison if you have questions specific to your institution. So now let's meet our event sponsor. Our event sponsor is Symbiosis Educational Consultants. Thank you very much for sponsoring our webinar today. We'll talk a little bit more in a few minutes.
So Edna, I'm back in, I think.
There you go.
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful. Tell us about Symbiosis then.
Well, Symbiosis is a minority and women-owned business enterprise, MWBE, that was ranked as one of America's fastest growing private companies on the prestigious Inc. 5000 list in 2022. Symbiosis partners with our higher education institutions to affordably create high-quality in-person hybrid and online programs. To learn more, please visit symbiosis.ed.com. So now I would like to introduce our presenters. We have three absolutely rock star presenters from some of our community college from member institutions. First is Mo Ervin, the Executive Director of Planning and Research. Planning, Research, and Organizational Development at Howard Community College in Maryland. Jackie Kennedy, the Senior Vice President and for Academic and Student Affairs at Passaic County Community College in New Jersey. And finally, Dr. Mary Flown, Vice President for Academic Affairs at Union of Union County, New Jersey. And I also want to thank the staff who are backing us up, and especially given my technical difficulties, their advice as we got started here. So just a reminder, as we get finished today, we will have an opportunity for question and answers. Rather than using the chat or raising your hand, use the Q&A function. And I'll give you a reminder as we get to near the end. So it's important today to look at all student success. Now we're focusing on community college today, but we also think that the lessons learned, and we know that many of the participants today come to us from institutions other than community college. And we really think that these lessons are important for all institutions, regardless of community colleges. Certainly, that's where we're implementing. That's where our presenters are bringing. But also our private nonprofits, our large institutions, our international institutions, recognizing that we are here to serve our students who sometimes are the most at. So what our presenters today are providing lessons about knowing your student, using data to disaggregate information, make it useful for the various constituent groups, and honing that data to inform decision making, finding creative and innovative ways to address those needs. As a result of today's webinar, I hope that you will be able to understand the unique nature and needs of community college students and hopefully translate that to your own arena and the unique needs of the various student groups within your student body. Pardon me. We want to identify innovative strategies for improving student engagement and identify connections that these three highly successful communities to improve the success of their diverse student population. So this fits nicely with the middle phase strategic for this and the coming year. First, data influence decision. We don't go on a, we gather data, we disaggregate it, we use it to help us understand, analyze, and say, this is what needs to be done. And then innovation in terms of how we create solutions to address those needs of our students. So first, I want to turn this over to Zoe Irvin. So Zoe is, as I mentioned, at Howard Community College in Maryland. And Zoe, I'm going to turn it over to you to give us some of the lessons that you and your colleagues have learned.
Well, hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to be with you today to share the wonderful work of my colleagues here at Howard Community College. We are located midway between Baltimore City and Washington, D.C. And as you can see, we serve over 22,000 students every year. They are mostly part-time, beautifully diverse, and they come from 95 different countries. This fall, 43% of those students needed some financial aid. Next slide. We are fortunate to be able to offer small class size so we can get to know our students and offer them individual attention. Our roughly 2,000 employees are hired and trained on the following culture statements. Next slide. We definitely hire on that value set, and as you can see, we hope that we have inspired our employees and every student and community member that we touch. We are committed to our mission statement, which we keep simple so that everyone knows what the most important job is on our campus is to provide those pathways to success, whatever that means for our diverse student body. We keep our strategic goals simple so that we can have a laser focus on the outcomes. And as you see in our next slide, we were honored to receive the 2019 Malcolm Baldridge Quality Award of Excellence in the category of education. And that category is open to all educational organizations, K through 20. It's a great adventure of 50 pages of very difficult questions to answer. But by the time you get everyone on your campus on that same page of really understanding what systems you have operating and monitoring the progress on your strategic action plans, you can see the results. And so for us, we wanted to highlight today just two of those groups. Next slide. The first is our Black African-American male population. As we examined our data over the years, we saw a gap in their retention and success. And so we came together as a college and decided what services, what wraparound services, what onboarding services we needed to support those students from their first moment of being a Howard Community College student. And there are many features to that program, but the one I want to make sure you walk away with today is the embedded math tutoring. So we decided that that was the greatest need of this population. And so from the first day, they have a highly qualified math tutor available to them. We encourage them, obviously, to take that math course that they're going to need first and get over that wall. And that has definitely paid off for our students in this category, as you'll see in the next slide. As we were on our Baldridge journey, you see the very dismal 3-year graduation rate of our Black African-American first-time students. But during the course of that work as an entire college, it takes everyone on your campus, we were able to triple that rate, and we continue that work. The other population that we had identified as in need of great service on the next slide is our Hispanic Latino community. And of course, you would use many of the same strategies, high impact practice strategies on that student population. But what I'd like to share with you today is that their greatest need ended up being an understanding of how to pay for college. How do you get there to begin with, and how do you stay in college, and how do you not have to work so much to support yourself so that you can be a successful student? And more than that, I'd like to share with our outcome that we learned that what we needed to work with was their entire family structure, whatever that meant to them, whatever that definition of family was to their students' circumstance. We needed to go out in the community. We needed to meet with those groups. We needed to understand the language barriers. We needed to figure that out, how to train the entire family about what does it really mean to be a college student and actually stay in college. And that has produced, as you'll see in our next slide, a doubling of the graduation rate for that population. And that success has continued. We had, as a strategic priority, decided that what we really needed to do if we wanted to scale up these programs to all of our thousands of students, an Office of Social Justice and Equity. And so we were able to go through the budget process and secure funds to start that office. The pre-part of that was last year. It's fully functional this year, so that we can work with people to look at the data and then to find strategies to help all of our diverse students. As you'll see on the next slide, there's still work to be done at Howard Community College. We've had great success, but our fall, as most of you probably, in terms of the pandemic effect, you see a bit of a dip in your fall to spring retention and fall to fall retention. And if you look at the official trend lines there, they're in the wrong direction. So we really still have work to do. If you go to the next slide, we are now disaggregating our data at the course level, creating some new, we're just in the process of finishing these public dashboards for everyone so that they can see exactly which classes that they need to go into and work with the students to be culturally responsive. And our social justice office, in collaboration with teaching and learning and student success, will have action plans around that so that we can spread these wonderful high impact practices across all of our thousands of students. So as we go to the next slide, community college students have a lot of different paths that they want to be on. Some very short term, a little bit of island hopping, and some very long term. But our goal is to be sure that we know the student, what path, which of these islands do they want to get to, and then we want to take all of our services and align them in a way that we can monitor and help students at every step. As we go to the next slide, you'll see some of the things we're up to now. We're revamping our curriculum into 8-week course blocks. So because we have so many part-time students, we want to try to expedite their path through the college. That embedded tutoring will eventually actually replace all of developmental studies as well. And we are investing in better technology so that we can do what I just said, which is to actually monitor our students every step of their journey. And the next slide just shows a celebration by our wonderful president. She'll be with you at the annual conference in December in a workshop to talk more about our current initiatives to support students, because we really do believe in our mission of providing pathways to success. And we want to make sure that each and every one of our students feels that support. Thank you.
So thank you so much. Great lessons there. Just to give you a little bit of a synopsis of some key takeaways. Understanding the needs of your first year and other student segments. Notice that those talk several times about disaggregating the data and focusing on particular segments. Our student body is not monolithic. There are different needs. Gather data, disaggregate it, understand those particular needs of those groups, develop concrete plans to put to action, the tool to address student success. Notice that Zoe talked about a different set of needs for the African-American male student as opposed to the Hispanic student. So they tailored what they were doing to the need. And then keep tabs on your end goal and monitor that. Give the students a clear path for moving towards that goal, regardless of what their ultimate goal is about. So next, let's go to Jackie Kennedy. Jackie is at Passaic County College in New Jersey. So Jackie.
Thank you, Paul. I want to begin by talking a little bit about Passaic County Community College. We are a public two-year college. We have around 6,480 students. They are about 38% full-time. 20% are single parents and a fairly young population. And I do want to make note of that because that has a lot to do with the strategies that we're trying to incorporate to move the dial a little bit and get them out of the community college quicker into careers and four-year schools. We are also an ATD leader college with distinction. Next slide. We have 3 campuses, and I'll talk a little bit about each. The Patterson campus is the main campus. It's one of the 3rd largest urban centers in New Jersey. With the city of Patterson has 156,000 people. We have a modern immigrant population, a large Hispanic population. We have also a large Middle Eastern population with a median age on the campus of about 33 and a median household income of about 45,000. Additional locations, and I want to make a point of this too, is the Passaic campus is also in the 16th largest city in New Jersey with a population of 69,633. This city has a large Hispanic population. And we have a suburban campus in Wanacue, which we feature the fine arts and a culinary program. Next slide. I also want to make note that we are a minority serving institution. Our total percentage of minority students is 79%. And I thought this slide is interesting because you can see the United States and the areas of where there are high proportions of minority students. Next slide. Okay, and this is where you also see institutions representing large Hispanic serving populations. And we are also a Hispanic serving institution. Our undergraduate population is certainly over 25%. This doesn't show the great color, but some of the color here demonstrates that the Hispanic serving institutions tend to be on our coastline. So it's a very interesting chart, and I hope you can get to see that at another date. Next slide. Okay, so one of the things that I want to talk about is strategies that we are using to improve degree completion here at Passaic County Community College. And I just want to share with you a thought. Graduation is a very big day here at Passaic. And students, we get great participation, students, families, and frequently students will come up to me and members of the staff and say, I'm so excited that I graduated. And then they will say, I've been here for 7 years. And I'm delighted that they graduated, but I don't want them to have to stay for 7 years. So I want to go through these strategies with you, and hopefully perhaps, you can take something back to your own institution. So the first one has to do with evidence-based models that we've been trying. And I'll give you some more detail on that. The course structure and how I believe that you have to follow the course schedule. We spend hours on the course schedule, making sure that we have the right mix of courses for our students so they can leave in 2.5 years rather than 7 years. We are into multiple modalities. We have a lot of single parents. Children get sick. They can't come to class. We want them to be able to, they can't come to class in person. We want them to be able to attend class at home through various modalities that I'll talk about in a minute. We do a lot with holistic student support. We also have a program on campus that they can get their bachelor's degree from Ramapo by spending the 3rd year here and then going on to Ramapo in the 4th. And I will spend more time with that. We have open educational resources to reduce the cost of textbooks for students. And again, guided pathways so that the students can get into their career and into 4-year schools as soon as possible. Next slide. Okay, so these are some examples of evidence-based models of instruction, and we do have a very large English language program here that is 5 levels of ELS. We do test students when they come on board. And so that what we're trying to do is move them quicker into college level courses. So in the final ELS course, they also enroll simultaneously into a general ed course, and we do reinforcement in our academic support center. So they leave the English language studies program with at least 3 credits or possibly 6 credits toward their degree. And the same thing basically with developmental ed. We have accelerated learning. We enrolled students simultaneously in support DEO 025 with English 101. And we have a good pass rate for these students in the next course in EN 102. They are passing at a 71% rate compared to the traditional students who were not going through the accelerated learning program that were passing at 73%. And I also want to call your attention to fall of 2023. And again, for the academic officers, really important, I'm sure that you're already doing this, to follow the grade distributions. We spend a lot of time looking at grade distributions and courses and where do we have problems with courses. And we have identified college algebra and pre-calc as areas where we need to support the students. So this fall, we have a new program we're piloting in 10 sections where directly following the courses, the college algebra and pre-calc courses is a 1-credit developmental course taught by the same faculty member that taught that course. And they go over any areas of difficulty students may have had during the initial lecture of college algebra or pre-calc. What we found is that high failure rates in math, particularly in college algebra and pre-calc, hold back students in the STEM programs, that they cannot get out of the 2-year program and go on to 4-year programs without having to, we want them to get out faster so that they do not have to be with us so long and can go into the baccalaureate program. Next slide. Oh. This is about structuring your semesters. And I heard Zoe say, we are into multiple semesters, 15, 12, 6A, 6B. We feel that that gives students an opportunity, particularly the parents. Sometimes maybe they don't want to start school in the 15-week. It's too soon after they're trying to get their own children off to class. So they come in the 12-week or they come in the 6A or 6B. We always start class after Labor Day. We want to take that into consideration. Again, we have a lot of single parents. We have early release of our schedule so students can determine what kind of schedule well in advance that they have to contend with. We use data mining to make sure what the students' positions are in terms of what they're going to need next in the next semester to better plan the course schedule. And we are using multiple modalities. And I do have some pass rates for in-person, concurrent, high flex, and hybrid. We are probably going to expand the high flex modality. We feel that has real advantage to our student body. Next slide. And then holistic student support, really important. We have a Center for Wellness, Student Advocacy and Violence Prevention, where non-academic issues can be discussed. We have 3 licensed social workers, and students are really taking advantage of this center, and you can see the participation there. They will assist students not just with mental health issues, but with food insecurity, even insurance, helping students to get certain kinds of insurance. And students are really taking advantage of this service. We also have a childcare center on campus. Next slide. One of the things we just started about, I don't know, four years ago, was a 3+1 program with Ramapo. This is an affordable pathway to the baccalaureate degree in these areas: biology, humanities, psychology, criminal justice, and nursing, where students graduate from Passaic with a 2-year degree, and then can take their 3rd year, the Ramapo junior year, or their 3rd year here, right here on campus, our campus, at our tuition. So far, we've graduated 16 students. We're hoping to grow the program a bit more. We also have, in addition to that, a 2+2 degree program in social work, where our associate in science human services students can take the BSW program right here on the Patterson campus. Next slide. Open educational resources began in 2017. This provides materials, teaching and learning materials, so that students do not have to buy high-cost commercial materials, which are very difficult cost-wise for lower economic. It's an economic barrier to our students. In 2017, we had 19 courses using OER. Today, we have 121. We're hoping to increase that number even more across all departments. We have 1-0 degree, meaning that there are no book expenses. All the materials are OER. And last but not least, we feel that we save the students about $500,000 a year because they don't have to buy books. And last but not least, we do have guided pathways. And the important thing here, I think, is that the pathway coordinators and their staff are able to help students through graduation. We have pathway events for students. We have faculty involved in career information sessions, and we also bring people in from the community. And last but not least, we have proactive case management, a model for advisement, where every student has the name of their advisor. And last but not least, this is what we're looking for, students at graduation. So let's see if we can make it a little bit of a shorter time to get there. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. I think that was very telling. You're talking about the students that I've been here 7 years.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to keep them there. I mean, we love our students, but we'd like for them to progress and move to their next chapter. So a couple of key takeaways here: understanding your student needs. You've got a very diverse student body, many different backgrounds coming to you with many different starting points. And so tailoring those starting points, the English as a second language, the helping them with those gateway courses that sometimes can prevent students from moving on, and then tailoring those programs to those different needs and providing very clear paths for them. It's very important. So I like that concept of the guided pathways, and we will keep that in mind. We're already getting a couple of questions in about how can you do everything for everybody, particularly in a high flex when you've got when you have federal regulations on Title IV. How do you keep that many balls in the air? So those are a couple of things that we'll keep in mind as we come closer to the end. Okay.
Paul, if I may just interrupt a second, just to solve some of our sound issues. Paul will take down his screen, and then our staff will share screen, and we'll take it from there. Thank you. All right, Marnie, are you ready?
So next is Dr. Maris Flaum. She is Vice President at Union College in Union County, New Jersey. Maris has been Vice President of Affairs here for quite a while and provides us some great insight. So Maris, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Paul. Good morning. Union College of Union County, New Jersey is a 4-campus institution in both suburban and urban settings. One of our main campuses is in Elizabeth, which is a port city. We are over 73% diverse, and we have about 60 degree programs. Next slide. Our mission is transforming our community one student at a time. And if there is one concept that drives everything we do, it is we focus on one student at a time. In the year 2013, our president, Dr. McMenamin, walked into a room of her vice presidents. She had the graduation rates in her hand, and she said, "I am tired of depending on hope and faith. We need to do something about our graduation rates." And at that moment, Operation Graduation was born. It is a cohort-based approach that addresses graduation rates in an extremely intentional way. So that is the pivotal focus of our student success model. I'm also going to talk about the concept of belonging and our Aspen journey. Next slide, please. Operation Graduation is our largest cohort-based effort. Every student that is a first-time full-time student receives specific intentional advising. Reports are required from faculty at milestones along the semester. Project Achievement, Inspire the Future. Project Achievement is geared toward African American males. It has expanded to include females. Inspire the Future is directed at our Latino students. Then you see several of our other areas of focus where students receive intentional and specific advising. Next slide, please. This illustrates the journey that I was just talking about. In 2009, we were at about 6% of our graduation rates. Today, we are at 35%. That has been an intentional journey with very specific approaches targeted at helping our students. One of the things that has contributed greatly to this success has been our approach to developmental education. Students choose themselves whether or not they need a developmental education course. That has enhanced the student experience. It has delayed this whole specter of how long is it going to take me to graduate, and it has helped to move the needle considerably by giving students self-agency in terms of developmental education. Next slide, please. We are very focused on the concept of belonging. I think we all know that one of the worst feelings in the world is that feeling of loneliness. We try to grab students as they walk in the door and connect them with students who have similar interests. And to that end, we have developed program-related destination centers. Next slide, please. These are some of the centers that we have to date. We are currently designing other centers. They are staffed by faculty and staff who manage the centers, who help students to interact with whatever the focus of the center is. It has been enormously successful. Students find other students in these centers who have similar interests, and they cohort themselves with other students almost in a voluntary manner so that it becomes almost a self-propelling mechanism. Next slide, please. The Aspen Prize. In 2019, we were invited for the first time to apply for the Aspen Prize for Community College Excellence. Next slide, please. We had our second invitation in 2021. To quote President Obama, basically the Oscars for great colleges. And a year ago, next slide, please, we were placed in the top 25 or the semifinalists for the Aspen Prize. The Aspen celebrates excellence in very, very specific areas. And when you write the application, you have to demonstrate competency and achievements based on each of these categories. Next slide, please. So lessons learned from these three areas that I have discussed: data, data, data. We not only use data, we disaggregate everything. And in terms of the Aspen Prize, we use data to support every single assertion in our Aspen application. We have evaluated and learned through all of these approaches to student success, but particularly during the Aspen journey. Our takeaways from this journey have been significant. They've helped us to learn. They've helped us to identify the value of data. They've made us better in every single way. One of the things that we are focusing on right now is something that Aspen is very much interested in, and that is high-value programs versus low-value programs. The main focus here is, are we graduating students who will get a job, not just a job, but a job with a family-sustaining wage? So we are currently in the process of examining all of our programs in terms of their value, that value to our students. That is comprised of a number of factors, such as jobs, such as enrollment, none of which is dispositive, but we target those, but look at them in an aggregated manner. Next slide, please. That concludes my presentation.
So, Maris, thank you so much. We've got some really great takeaways here. One of the key things was to assure that you're using data. As Maris said, we disaggregate, we disaggregate, we disaggregate. And if you notice, they tailored their responses to the particular desires, interests, needs of the students. You remember the many different centers that Maris and Union College have created so that students can find their home away from home. They can find their niche. They can find their way where they're comfortable at the college. And that's really important. You think it could be really hard, especially if you get a large college. How do we address 4, 5, 10,000 students? You still try to do it almost student by student, or at least student group by student group, as Maris said, disaggregating that data. So today we hope that you come away from this with some of the some key takeaways here. Understand the unique nature of our student body, whether it's community colleges where we many times have first gen, whatever your student body is, dig in, understand who they are, because it is not monolithic. Identify innovative institutional strategies to improve the way we do things, and identify connections. So these three successful community colleges have really done a really nice job. So before we get into the Q&A, I'd just like to ask, for instance, Jackie, are there any pitfalls or things that you would have maybe done differently as you went into this process?
Well, one of the things we have difficulty with, and I don't know that I mentioned it, but it's certainly related, is instead of testing students, we're moving away from AccuPlacer and we're using multiple measures, which hasn't really worked the way we wanted it to. And so we're still struggling with that. But that would be one thing that we're still taking a look at and we're having second thoughts about. Multiple measures is only as good as the documentation that you get.
Yeah, absolutely. So even when you are very successful in what you're doing, Sometimes there are little bumps in the road and you try to overcome those bumps. So I know you have a large, many of your students go on to other institutions. How could you take the lessons that you've learned at Howard and translate that to other types of institutions, non-community college institutions?
So we do track our students out of the organization using the National Student Clearinghouse data. And we have had a couple of different projects, some funded by the National Science Foundation with our primary transfer institution, UMBC in this case. And we focused on biology and chemistry transfer students. And we learned a great deal about what we could do back here in their 2-year preparation to make them more competitive as they moved out to the 4-year college. And that was quantitative and qualitative data as well. So I encourage all institutions to understand their relationship with their 4-year partners in a more specific way. Take the time to get the faculty and the advisors together on both campuses and really talk about how are those students doing in that next step so that they can be as successful as possible.
Thank you. Thank you. That's great. So let's move into question and answer. And I'll just remind you, going to our next slide, that if you wish to submit a question, use the Q&A function that's at the bottom of your screen. And Eden and I will manage those questions and we will take them to our presenters. Next slide, please.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. So let's get back on our screen. And once again, as we closely would like to thank again our sponsor, Symbiosis Educational Consultants, for supporting today's webinar. If you want to receive more information from the Symbiosis, you can scan the QR code that you see on the screen. And we would like to also acknowledge our sponsors for the Platinum sponsorship for our 2023 annual conference. So thank you very much, Symbiosis. And that leads me into our last reminder. Please join us at the Middle States Commission Higher Education 2023 annual conference in Philadelphia on December 4th through 6th. So this 3-day event will offer exceptional presentations, concurrent sessions, plenaries, presentation during breakfast for presidents, provosts, and ALOs, and the very exciting student poster sessions, and definitely lots of networking opportunities with more than 1,500 people that will come. So if you can register today, you can visit, you see on the screen, our website, msche.org, /annual-conference. So once again, I want to say thank you. Thank you very much to our panelists. Thank you, Paul, for all your work on this presentation. It's been wonderful to hear about this very highly successful community colleges and the lessons that you have learned through your journey. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending today.